time anyway, so I guess if you wanted to speak right after him without any action from the board or from anything being taken, I don't see a problem with that again. So.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wanted to speak during public comment? You might, looks like you're up.
Good evening, Michael Butz, 3105 McHale Road, Bruce Township, 48065. Been a resident since December 15th actually was our moving date, I think. And I'm here tonight to address something that I've seen going on that I can't stand idly by and let it pass. And then, I don't know if the mics are on.
Can you turn the mic on?
I don't think they're on. But,
They did have happened last time. My brother had their mics weren't working, and we had to move in there.
because if I can speak loud.
What's the number on that one?
My broken glasses. So, what would the number be? I don't see a number.
There's a V?
Use of them?
No, there's no label on it.
Okay.
Put the lights on.
Yeah, the light is on. It's just,
Speak louder.
all right,
Well, now the other guy's gone for the supervisor. Supervisor's gone.
okay, we'll wait. I want to make sure. And by the way, I do have handouts of everything I've emailed you. I've already mentioned that prior to the meeting. And I really encourage you to take one last review of everything before you make your final decision. So, you've all of you have sworn an oath of office, as was mentioned, right? That's a very serious thing. That's a commitment to the people that you will support the Constitution and uphold the law. So, government is the people. And we often forget that because they don't teach it in schools any longer. They don't have civics classes any longer, all right? That the United States of America is a republic with a Republican form of government. We are not a democracy. And I could probably stand on a corner and offer $1 million to anyone that could describe what kind of government we are. And I'll bet you if 1,000 people answered it, they'd all say we're a democracy. And we're not a democracy. We're a republic. Two different things. Democracy is something that corporations have. You know, that's a democracy. And so what that means is that we are the government. All right? The American experiment was... We got something now, I think. The American experiment was the first time in human history, that a government was formed that is completely self-governing, meaning the people govern. Now the people hire public servants, you being some of those public servants here. But that's what you are, you're a public servant. We make the decisions, we have all the authority. And you as well as one of we the people, okay? But at the end of the day, I no longer consent to anyone serving in the government not knowing who their boss is. And the boss is the people, okay? Not the state of Michigan, not the US federal government, not the World Economic Forum, whatever you want to call them. It's the people, all right? And the way they designed this republic was that the power is closest to the people. So whether you know it or not, you folks have the most power in our government structure because you're closest to the people, right? You're local government. And we can have our own declaration of independence. We can declare ourselves independent of the state of Michigan, right? If the state of Michigan is violating our rights, our inalienable rights endowed by our Creator. You heard that excerpt from, the Declaration of Independence, and I take that to heart. Now, I have 4 grandchildren with a 5th on the way in September, and it horrifies me the thought that on my watch, after I had a father that was in the Battle of the Bulge at 18 years old in World War II to fight for freedom, that his son could let our government completely overtake the people. So I will spend my last breath and my last dollar to defend our republic. And so what that calls for is that you have to remind people of what their obligations are. Because do any of you know what the remedy is for violating your oath of office? Do you know what that remedy is? Have you ever looked at it? There's one remedy, and that's for you to immediately vacate your seat. That if you violate your oath of office, if you do not uphold the law is the law. We're not talking policy dictated from Lansing. That's not law. Okay, so no governor, no secretary of state, no legislature can dictate policy that circumvents the law. And in Michigan, we have what's called Michigan compiled law. And the previous speaker did quote quite a few sections. There's those glasses again, hold on. I'm going to focus initially on the law that we're here to decide on, which is the Freedom of Information Act, 15.231. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the grounds that you used for denying my FOIA was 15.243, I think it was one Y and one Z. Is that correct? I apologize. I should have printed the denial letter. But is that the grounds by which you've denied my FOIA?
Christine, you want to respond to that?
It was just one Y.
One Y, okay. So I'm going to read one Y. Records or information of measures designed to protect the security or safety of persons or property, or the confidentiality, integrity, or availability of information systems, whether public or private, including but not limiting to building, public works, and public water supply designs, to the extent that those designs relate to the ongoing security measures of a public body. Capabilities and plans for responding to a violation of Michigan Anti-Terrorism Act, Chapter LXXX III-A of the Michigan Penal Code, 1931 PA 328, MCL 750.543A to 750.543Z. Emergency response plans, risk planning documents, threat assessments, domestic preparedness strategies, and cybersecurity plans, assessments, or vulnerabilities. Unless disclosure would not impair a public body's ability to protect the security or safety of persons or property, or unless the public interest in the disclosure outweighs the public interest in non-disclosure in the particular instance. So are you confirming that that's the grounds by which you denied my Freedom of Information Act request? Okay, so that's unanimous. Now I'm going to read to you the very next section of that law. Okay, it's a little further down in my pile. 15.244. Separation of exempt and non-exempt material. Design of public record. Description of material exempted. Section 14.1. If a public record contains material which is not exempt under Section 13, as well as material which is exempt from disclosure under Section 13, the public body shall separate the exempt and non-exempt material and make the non-exempt material available for examination and copying. Number 2, when designing a public record, a public body shall, to the extent practicable, facilitate a separation of exempt from non-exempt information. If the separation is readily apparent to a person requesting to inspect or receive copies of the form, the public body shall generally describe the material exempted, unless that description will reveal the contents of the exempt information and thus defeat the purpose of the exemption. So, the poll book history file that comma-separated values file that's usually opened in Excel is the originating public record for every election. Okay, so that public record is the only public record of the election. It must, under our laws, it must be retained by the local clerk, and under 168.811 must be retained for 24 months in your possession, because you're the keeper of it, not the Bureau of Elections. They're entitled to a copy of it, but you, and only you, must retain that file, because it replaces that paper poll book where we used to use. I used to go to vote. I would fill out an application for a ballot. An election worker would verify who I am by looking at my driver's license. They would fill in my information. They would say, you're voter number 1, you get ballot number 1. They would give me my ballot and I would go vote. That, I am the progenitor of that election record, that public record. Meaning, as progenitor, I own intellectual property to that record because it is me, it's who I am, it's representative of my identity. So neither anyone at the clerk's office, anyone in Lansing, or anyone in Washington, D.C. has zero authority over my public record. And if you look at 516, 168.516, put on my broken glasses again so I can find it. It's a, I think I can do it. If it's not too, I appreciate you not bursting out laughing at me. That's okay. So let me, yeah, okay. Let me try this.
Don't sit on.
Oh, okay.
I can see.
I think I can see the molecular structure of the paper. Oh boy. Okay, this is a real short one. 168.516, registration records, public inspection. Section 516, the registration record must be open for public inspection. Can any of you define registration record for me?
Is that the poll book?
I guess I'm asking. I mean, you guys are denying my FOIA request. You're denying me access to that poll book. And I'm asking you, under law, registration record must be open for public inspection. That's one sentence. That has nothing to do with anything around FOIA. This is the law that should be upheld by your constitutional oath. So, I ask again, do any of you, Susan, do you know the definition of the registration record?
Mr. Supervisor, with all due respect, this is not a question and answer
Right.
interrogation.
Yeah,
This is your chance to make your presentation
that's
to the
fine.
board.
I'm trying to give people the opportunity to challenge their intellect and determine whether they've gotten good guidance from you and from the Secretary of State. Because I have empathy for these poor people. They're being led down the burly path of destruction, and I'm trying to give them an opportunity to redeem themselves. So I'm going to continue to ask questions, and they can choose to not respond, that's fine, but I'm doing it for their benefit. Because I will tell you, at the end of this process, if I'm unlawfully denied the information I've requested, I will be demanding you all vacate your seat, and I will be filing criminal charges against everyone that votes in favor of denying. I'm just letting you know. So I don't want to do that. It was never my intention. The first day I met you, Susan, I said, listen, you guys got to understand, you're being misled by the state to participate in their crimes. Okay, now, did any of you look at the evidence that I provided of my voting record? So I mailed this to all of you, and it's sitting back there on the table. If you want to take a quick recess and grab it, you're welcome to. But according to the Bureau of Elections data, I have voted in Bruce Township ever since 2010. That's the data that was FOIA'd from the Bureau of Elections. Now, I look at the record that Susan gave me, and it rightfully shows that in 2010 I voted in St. Clair Shores. In 2012, I voted in Clinton Township all the way through 2022. But yet the Bureau of Elections report from January 1st, the data that was FOIA'd from the state, shows I voted in Bruce Township every year. That's what you call altering a public record. That is a felony under MCL 750.248. Okay? So the other thing, and Susan can respond or she doesn't have to, I said, whatever you do, Susan, even if you don't feel comfortable granting my FOIA request, do not destroy those files. Those are the original election records. So do not take the instruction from the state to destroy those files. And I pray that she hasn't destroyed them so that she's not just as much on the hook as they are for destroying or altering public records, okay? So, you know, there's a few other things we found because guess what? One clerk so far has disclosed this file. And as I stated in my appeal, I'm a 30-year IT professional. I founded a company called CloudSafe that was in the business of providing cybersecurity and secure cloud services to healthcare and banks. Now, I would argue those are even more regulated than the government. So I have some knowledge about what cybersecurity is. And I have some knowledge about what should and shouldn't be considered a cybersecurity risk. I need to ask all of you, have you consulted with a person of credentials to evaluate that Excel file and give you their professional opinion as to whether or not it truly is a cybersecurity risk to divulge that file? Have you done that? I'll take your silence as no, you haven't, that you've only relied on the instruction from the state, okay? Like I said, I have evidence that they perpetrated a crime, and they continue to perpetrate crimes. And they think that that's okay because they're the state and they can do whatever they want. That's not gonna fly in the United States of America anymore. People are done. The silent majority the giant is awakened. We're not gonna settle for this. And so, again, I implore you, and I wanna extend you grace. If you wanna postpone your decision, your final decision, I don't care what the 10-day FOIA appeal window, I will grant you any request you want to extend so that you can properly analyze this, because I did analyze that poll book. City of Memphis gave me the Excel file. And you know what they did? They did it within 15 minutes because the clerk and deputy clerk reviewed all the law and said, you're entitled to this, but we have to redact the birth month, the birth year, and the driver's license number of the voter. She said, can we delete those columns? I said, you absolutely can, because I wouldn't want you to break the law. They did that according to 168.509GG, and they gave me the file on a USB thumb drive. And you know what we found? What we found with that? A voter in Memphis that got her voting record, we found that the date timestamp doesn't match. So in my report, you'll see, according to the state of Michigan, I vote at midnight every year. But if you look at the poll book, the EPB file, it shows the time you were signed in to vote and given a ballot. So in that person's case, it showed 14:04, so that's 2:04 p.m. And she voted in person with a regular ballot. But yet the clerk's report shows she was an absentee voter, okay? So, you know, I would argue this is life or death stuff. Our elections, I don't care if another candidate I support ever wins another election, as long as it's a real election. And you have to understand, I'm not here accusing anyone of election fraud. I'm saying that crimes have been broken, public records have been manipulated and not maintained. The state of Michigan, the Secretary of State and the Bureau of Elections, they stand up in front of the media and say, this is the most secure elections in US history. All while they know that the data does not represent the original public record, okay? And so that's our quandary. So I've left you evidence. This is directed to you, Susan. 168.520, illegal or fraudulent registration, township or city clerk powers and duties, assistance by police or sheriff assistant, examiners, appointment expenses. Section 520, if a township or city clerk has knowledge that there is a probable illegal or fraudulent registration in the township or city, or in any ward or precinct of the township or city, the clerk has the power and duty to make a full investigation of the facts concerning the registration and to ascertain whether any name has been illegally or fraudulently registered. The township or city clerk is authorized and empowered to call upon the police department of the city or the sheriff of the county in which the city is located, or both, to assist in making the investigation. And the police department and the sheriff are required to render assistance if the clerk makes a request for assistance, and to furnish the clerk at his or her request with all available assistance in making the investigation. A township or city clerk is further authorized and empowered, if he or she considers it necessary or advisable, to appoint assistant examiners for the purpose of the investigation. Bills for the services of the examiner must be approved by the clerk and must be audited and paid by the township board or legislative body of the city in the same manner as the expenses of conducting elections are paid. So the problem I see is they came up with these computer voting systems, and they've thrust it on a whole lot of rural communities, just overwhelming people with the complexity of it all. And what we've done is we've lost track of, we did this for a few hundred years, or well, just under 300 years. We conducted elections, we did registrations, we did it all with paper. Okay, we didn't need computers and tabulators and the internet to do an election. Okay, so, but that's another point altogether. My main point right now, I'm telling you, is that I filed a criminal complaint against the Secretary of State and BOE. You know, I have a detective assigned. He's struggling with the whole concept. He wants to give it to the Secretary of State. I said, and the Attorney General. I said, the perpetrator of the crime is the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General is their counsel. So my constitutional protection is the sheriff and the prosecutor for this crime. So I did meet with Peter Lucido yesterday morning. Matt Trumper and I actually met with him. And Peter Lucido did tell me, he said, if you bring forth evidence, if law enforcement brings forth evidence that a crime has been committed, I don't care who it was, the governor or whoever, I'll prosecute. Okay? So, please, I implore you, I don't want you to get caught up in these criminal proceedings, right? I don't want that to happen to you. Just whatever you do, don't listen to attorneys, don't listen to the state. Use your own mind and discernment, pray on it, and really take a look at the law and say, it seems like we're not on the right side of the law, or you are. We could all be wrong. And the attorneys could be right. I put my money on the people being right on this one. Me personally. And again, I don't want to see any harm come to any of you. I don't want to see any of you drug through criminal proceedings. And I guess if you want to, you can say, I've had enough of this. It's not worth the money I get paid. I'm going to resign, which would be acceptable too. That's a righteous thing to do. If you want to step down, step down. But no, it won't just go away. You need to understand that. Because we will be coming after surety bonds. We will be demanding people step down from office. We will be going for more criminal prosecution for these public record violations. And, you know, some people just don't relate to the fact that the clerk keeps deeds, mortgages, right? You record all kinds of public records. Those are kept at the clerk or no? Okay, you don't have to answer, that's fine. Local clerks and county clerks do keep public records. In those public, what would happen if somebody just altered my deed and said they own the house? Right? I'm going to be damaged. That's personal injury. That's why it's so important that the clerks maintain the public record, not the state, not the U.S. government. Well, guess what? Our voting history and our voter registrations and knowing who's a qualified voter is the most precious public record that we have in this country. Because for every fraudulent registration and vote, it nullifies a valid vote. So it violates our constitutional rights. It violates our inalienable rights. And that's why I take this so seriously. And that's why I keep insisting with the sheriff and the prosecutor, and I'm a stubborn bullock. I'm not letting this go. And if I have to go to the marshal's office and go to the feds, you know, I definitely wouldn't go to the FBI or the DOJ, but I will go to the marshal's office, because aside from the sheriff, the marshal's office is a legitimate law enforcement organization under our Republican government, unlike the DOJ and the FBI and the CIA and all the other three-letter agencies. So I don't know what more I can tell you. I'm not even going to worry about quoting federal law, because we don't need that here, because Michigan actually has 24-month retention and the federal government only demands 22 months. So, and you're all supposed to uphold the law. So maybe it would behoove you to call Donna over at Memphis and ask her why she felt it was the lawful thing to do to approve my FOIA request. That might be a really prudent thing for you to do, and I will give you an extension, whatever you need, because I don't want to drag any more casualties into this. I hope you understand, especially since I just moved here. I'm going to be coming for variances, build a shed. So anyway, I got to lighten it up a little bit because this is pretty heavy stuff. Thank you very much for convening this special meeting to address this very urgent issue. There's a current crime in progress, and you may be unwittingly, and now I don't think you can argue that you're ignorant any longer, but if files are getting deleted at the instruction of the Bureau of Elections, you're a part of the crime. Just keep that in mind. And I gave you the procedure to recover the files. Has anyone attempted that? Or do you currently possess the files that need to be retained for those Excel files? Do you possess them today for November 8th and for May 2nd?
I hope so.
Okay. I won't take that as a yes or no. I would suggest that you recover them. Follow the procedure and recover them. And I'd be happy to help you and support you if the state comes after you. You have my commitment. If you do the right thing and you uphold your oath of office and you grant my legal FOIA request and only redact the things dictated by law that should be redacted. And think about this. As an IT professional, you would never intermingle code, intellectual property from software into a log file that's supposed to produce an export. So anyone that would try to commingle cybersecurity plans and source code into a log file that's supposed to capture the history of the data, that's just a guise. Or complete and utter incompetence, and they should all resign, because this is programming 101. They have no leg to stand on this statute. And I'd be happy to consult with any of the attorneys representing the municipalities. I'd be happy to have a meeting. I'll host a meeting with all of you, and I'll bring numerous professionals in that will tell you they've examined this file, and that's an unwarranted FOIA denial. So we can either address that in court, or you can do the right thing and do what Memphis did. And I did talk to Donna yesterday when we filed Karen's police report. And I asked her, have they given you any ramifications? Have they threatened to make you buy new computers? She says, no. She goes, but you know, I'm hoping they don't, because I just followed the law. So just follow the law, please. Thank you.
My name is Scott Aughney. Spelling is A-U-G-H, N as in Nancy, E-Y. I am a resident of the metropolitan Jackson area, and I've been an election investigator for almost 2 years. I've been investigating the electronic poll book raw data files for approximately 1.5 years. And I am far more of an expert on it than anybody in the Michigan Bureau of Elections, because I don't think they're aware of everything that is on there. They are in violation of MCL 750.248, which prohibits altering public records. There is a second voter ID, which is the original voter ID found on the electronic poll book raw data files, which is corroborating evidence that they have broken the law. It's up to 14-year felony. They are also in violation of U.S. Code 52, Chapter 207, which is up to 12-month federal felony to destroy federal election records prior to the 22-month period. I want to tell you that the people that are here, I find very courageous. There are some courageous clerks. I have been very sympathetic, but my sympathy is gone because the law is being broken by the Michigan Bureau of Elections, by the Secretary of State. The Attorney General has no authority in this because the Attorney General is the legal counsel for who? The Michigan Bureau of Elections. They are trying to get these clerks to hinder prosecution, which is a violation of law as well. You can call in obstruction of justice. And I'm not here to pick on the clerk, okay? I am understanding of what's going on, but I'm a student of history. Adolf Hitler used clerks in the same way. Joseph Stalin used clerks in the same way. I'm not trying to compare you to one of the clerks of those individuals, but the tactic is the same. They have no authority to tell these clerks to violate the law. They have none. They are trying to use security. There is no cybersecurity issue. Why? Because the procedures they tell these clerks, turn off or turn on your airplane mode or whatever it's called, so it's not online, and everything is presumed that it's not online. Well, why is there a cybersecurity issue? The burden is on the Michigan Bureau of Elections to prove there's a cybersecurity issue with the data on these electronic poll book files. How much time do I have left?
Wrap it up.
Okay. I want to thank you. I urge you to consider the law. 509GG outlines what you're not obligated to disclose to anybody in the public. Okay? The driver's license and the birthday and birth month are the only things that are found on the electronic poll book data. And I would encourage you to abide by the law. And I'm available for any questions. I have business cards with me if you'd like a copy of one. I'm more than happy to talk to any public officials in deeper detail with regards to evidence. Thank you.
I'd like, first of all, to say thank you for everybody coming out. Elections are important to us, and I like to see the enthusiasm. If anybody wants to be an election inspector, come to our window. We'd love to have you. And I don't think anybody here questions the validity of your concerns, but we don't own the system, and that's what worries us. We take direction from the state. So that's where we are.
Direction from us? We the people?
Well, the system belongs to the state. We're working with the state.
It belongs to
We
us.
paid for it.
Speak up.
We did a detailed legal opinion on behalf. I've given you a detailed legal opinion. I'm happy to answer any questions. At this time, at the time when the township responded to Mr. Butz's FOIA request, Susan thought she could get the information back. That's why it was responded to in the way it was, with the exemption the way it was written. Unfortunately, at this time, she has confirmed that she cannot get that information back, that the information has been deleted. So there is no electronic poll book information that the township can grant, give out.
May I ask how that was deleted?
Uploading and
I know, but I need to know the answer.
But she did it, she did it at the direction of the state. She did it in accordance with the direction she was given.
But the November 8th election and the May 2nd election, that hasn't been 2 years.
No, where's May?
Like,
Yeah, it is how.
we have no experience in this, but I suggest you, all due respect, I suggest you stay away from
He's a
it.
citizen too.
But we are gonna have to make a ruling, whether we're gonna be
You're
approved
right.
this or
You
against
can't
it.
ban it.
Actually, I'm gonna make a motion. Motion to deny the Butz appeal based on the fact that the township does not have records requested.
Christine, do you
You
put a
just said
friend
you
in with
couldn't
them?
comment. You have, how can you vote, but you don't have any information, you know?
Let's keep it under control. Listen, we've already, now it's time for the board to discuss it. 30 minutes.
Sir, I just, did she talk to an IT person and try to get it through an IT person, or did she try to get it by yourself? I'm just curious.
We've talked to IT people again. We're not, again, this is
Okay,
not a question
I'm
and
just
answer
asking,
kind of.
okay.
We appreciate it. You guys all did a great job explaining. I mean, I feel pressured and I feel up against the wall. I don't really, have the answers to this. I mean, I don't know which way to really go. I wanna do the right thing. That's the main thing. But it's,
As I
again, I
said,
gotta follow what
You
our,
have an extension. I will waive my 10 days for freedom if you take the time, Mike.
but we don't have the information to give you. From what I understand it, the information sounds like it's been deleted, Mike.
And Mr. Supervisor, if I may, he doesn't have the right to waive the 10 days. The statute requires you to make a decision within 10 days of your last board meeting. Now, you can do an extension on that, only extenuating circumstances.
I say they can extend it, I'm the
With all due
requester.
respect, there are no extenuating circumstances that I can see, because your township clerk has indicated that the information is not in possession of the township.
You can approve and wait, it's a separate part and have them deliver it. You can approve it and then worry about the delivery second.
We don't have any information.
Mr.
so-
Supervisor, Mr. Supervisor, if I may.
Go ahead, Mike.
We live in a democratic republic. In a democratic republic, you vote for elected officials to represent you, to represent your community. When we have a meeting, there's a time for public comment and there's a time for the board to deliberate. Right now, you guys are violating our meeting protocols. I respect all of your opinions. We heard your opinions. Now it's our turn to deliberate with our attorney. So if you could please be respectful of the meeting and how it works. Because this is a township business meeting that's open to the public. It's not a public meeting. So please be respectful. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Christine?
Absolutely.
Do you represent Memphis?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you know the firm that does?
I do not.
Do you know anything about what they did?
I do not.
Okay.
I did speak to them.
Can you
She gave
share? I mean,
information. She just saw it differently, and Memphis isn't in Macomb either, and Macomb County kind of works together, so I don't know so I don't know exactly if she got direction from someone or.
so if we don't have data, I mean, we can't fulfill the FOIA request, but does somebody have the data in the county? Was it uploaded to somebody?
It's a
Was it provided to
state
somebody?
system. It's a state system.
So would the state have what Mr. Butz
That
is
is
looking for?
incorrect, it's on the laptop.
It's on the lap-
That
oh,
was
on our-
performed on a local laptop.
So we do have the November 8th and the May 2nd election poll book.
No, we said
I
it.
don't understand, so please explain to me. Why don't we have it? We're supposed to keep it for 2 years. That's my question. I'm just asking.
Not electronically. We have 7 days to upload the history to QBF, the qualified voter file.
Once we do
And
it,
it's within that 7 days, it needs to be deleted. It says poll book, it doesn't say electronic.
How do we keep records for 2 years?
Not the electronic poll book.
Where's that? Poll book. We have a poll book.
We have a paper poll book.
So is the registration of records the same as the poll book?
No. I've been examining these for a year and a half. There's
Again-
data on these that is not being uploaded to the Bureau of Elections.
Thank you. Okay, please, everybody. And we're asking questions right now. Thank you. Do you have the registration record and poll book are the same or no?
No.
So is there registration of records that we have?
That's not what they're asking for.
I thought he's asking for the,
Asking for
No,
the
he's
electronic.
specifically asking for the electronic copy of the poll book. And it's very specific. And that is the only thing he's asking for.
so electronic copy, but
So
not.
if we don't have the data, we just respond, we don't have the data?
You don't possess the records that he's looking for.
Does the record exist somewhere?
In electronic version, that I don't know.
The state.
I think it is with the state.
I think that's what your argument is with the state. I don't know why you aren't going directly to the state. No, take that back. I understand there are some hoops that you have to go through, and I just think that that's where you should begin, so the state.
They did, they gave us the FOIA.
They gave us FOIA.
It's in the process of being granted, I guess.
Accessing,
Or denied.
They gave us that, and that's where we found.
can we have this discussion without a second?
You can have
Procedures
any
on
type of
board,
discussion.
absolutely.
Can I ask Mr. Butz a question, Mike? You said the county clerk was still considering, or did you say the county clerk was still considering?
I met with
Tony,
Anthony Fellini.
Mike, why don't you come up to the podium, because I think I have a couple questions for you
we
too.
might need you to stay up here.
I don't mind, I really want you guys to not do something you're gonna regret. So I met with Anthony Fellini and I met with Michael Griggs. I showed them the evidence of the altering of the record by the Bureau of Elections. I did receive a packet. Mr. Forlini did have a correspondence with Lori Bourbonnais from the Bureau of Elections. He wanted me to review her response, and quite frankly, it was laughable, what she claimed, as to why you guys can't do your duty under the law and give that poll book. Because what we're trying to do, folks, is we're trying to assemble, me personally, in Macomb County, I'm gonna assemble a voting record using the original records, which is in the poll book. And I'm gonna then compare it to what the state claims the voting records are, and they're not gonna match. Okay? So the reality of it is, there's a procedure in the poll book software for you to go ahead and recover those files and put them back. As long as you don't let the Bureau of Elections do an update on those poll books, because then they'll destroy it, and all the evidence will be gone of their crime. And so if you give them access to those poll books, I would highly recommend that, if nothing else, you lock down those poll books in the safe, even if it means you buy new computers, until you can get proper legal advice. Because I would feel that any attorney that advises their client to break the law should be disbarred. That's my opinion. I don't know if it's fact, if it should be, but that's my opinion, right? And maybe I will file a grievance against all these municipal lawyers that are leading you people down this path, because the reality of it is, I read you the laws. The laws are what you swear an oath to uphold, not to do what the state says. And those laws say, 168.810, the local clerk will retain a copy of the election records. It says it right there. And then on 811 it says how long? 24 months. And that's all records. That's electronic paper. That's any artifact from the election. So by you deleting those after I pleaded with Susan not to delete them, I said, put them away. Even Lori Lasko told me today after they denied my appeal, well, I still have the files. I said, you're a smart lady, because somebody's going to be coming for those files, and it's not going to be a concerned citizen. Okay? So I would like you to ask your lawyer, if you would amuse me, will she go to prison with you for violating the law if she recommends that you violate the law, which is what she's recommending that you do. She's saying follow the state edict and ignore the law. So that's something you might want to ask her.
Mike, did you have any more questions for her?
Yeah, I have some, I had
Yes, sir.
some questions. So I have 4 questions I wrote down. What do we have? And what I'm hearing is we do not have what Mr. Butz is looking for. Did we check with our IT department to see if those files are recoverable?
No, it's not our system, like, so, it's the state system. So,
That's not a right answer. No.
The instructions are there.
Hang on. This is our meeting, please.
We don't vote at the state.
This is our meeting, please. We can give you due
Please,
respect.
this is a lot of stress for them guys.
Thank
Let's
you.
just answer their questions.
So when you're saying it's not our system, but
they're not gonna allow our IT people to access their system. And that's part of the problem, accessing their system.
That we paid for.
accessing the state system. But is it a data file that was deleted? If it's a data file, you don't need to necessarily go into the system.
I upload, they get a thumb drive, they upload it to them, and then it's gone, so.
It's uploaded to the county?
I believe it can be accessed through the state. But
Mr. Butz, if you tried to go to the state for this.
Or would you
I
go
mean-
to a criminal who robbed the bank?
I mean,
and ask
I
to
would
rob
say
the
if we
bank
had the
robbery?
data, that we'd look at some kind of way to get you
Yeah, so here's the
redacted
thing.
data, but if we don't have the data.
That file, you had the data, Susan told me she had the data, especially for the May 2nd election. I told you, whatever you do, don't destroy this, keep this thumb drive. All right, so that's on you, Susan, I'm sorry, but I'm so disappointed that that's the tack that you've taken. I'm letting you know that if you go into the poll book, all they have to do, her and her staff, is log in and execute page 41 of the Bureau of Elections procedural manual. You can recreate that file. You can put it on a thumb drive, you can put it on 20 thumb drives, lock it in 20 safes so that you have the data, and then consult with somebody, maybe talk to the prosecutor, I don't know.
the state is saying that's a security issue.
So, you know, in Susan's defense, if I were in her shoes and I'm relying on people that I'm familiar with and then I'm relying on you, I think
Everybody
I would
makes their
follow
choice.
directions from
You
someone
reach your own
else.
discernment.
Not that I disrespect what you're
Susan
saying.
should step down. She should no longer be the clerk of this community because she's violating the law. I'm sorry, but that's the fact, Susan. And if you're not cognizant of that, you're not competent to serve the people. And that makes me really ache inside to say these things because I'm a very forgiving person. But you have to understand when you take an oath to serve and follow the law, when the state or the country, that's why we have a republic, representative government. We don't have centralized elections. That's the end goal, I believe. They want to eliminate clerks doing anything for the elections because that's what Stalin and the rest of them do. They do their election however they want it. We are the checks and balances. If you do an IRS audit and you tell them, yeah, we deleted the file, they can't audit the original records. You have to keep your receipts. By you not keeping the receipts.
We're kind of getting repetitive now.
I know, but
Mike, do you have
maybe
any
it's
more
needed.
questions
I don't
for
know.
Mr. Butz?
No, I mean, my questions are, do we have the data? Can we cover the data? What could we provide if we redacted it? And do we have an estimate from high tech how to do it? But I guess if we don't have the data, can't recover it, according to our clerk. I don't know what else we could do.
We can walk to the laptops right now and we can recover the files from the May election, right now. Scott and I can show you how to do it.
The state doesn't want us to.
State doesn't want you to because it'll show evidence of their crimes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to our attorney that we pay to help represent us.
The
help
state is
represent the
directing
people.
you to violate the law.
Excuse me. How many times do we have to ask for respect?
Sorry,
But
but
this
You
is
have
what
no
your
respect for
families
the
do.
law.
This is your families do. It's everybody. It's about our future. It's about our kids. So we have a free country.
You assume that we don't care like you care. We do care.
But you.
But we're asking questions, we're trying to follow a process, we're trying to hold a
I
meeting.
understand, but the information is there, but she's saying you can't get it because the state told her not to. The information is there. The information is on the poll book. If you can get somebody to get it, but she doesn't wanna do it because the state tell her not to.
All right, being repetitive, Kelly, let's do
And
it.
it's not that I don't wanna do it.
You can do it. I just told you, you can do it.
Memphis clerk is
Can I
in
ask
jail.
our legal counsel, based on the discussion here, what your thoughts are?
My thoughts are, if you don't have the documentation, you can't give it to them. It's as simple as that.
Are you sure that documentation cannot, are you 100% sure that documentation or that information cannot be recovered? Because it sounds to me like there's a possibility it can be, possibly.
I am certainly no IT person.
And what about the redacting of the personal information? Is that something that would be, I mean, it obviously under law, which they stated and read the MCL numbers, that the information, that personal election information can be redacted and that would be open to FOIA?
Absolutely. Any personal information on any document that goes out. Personal information such as a driver's license number, your date of birth, except for the year, your address, those things are redacted.
Okay, let me ask a question to the clerk. When the state told you that they couldn't do it, or you shouldn't do it, or what was their
For
statement?
security reasons, we shouldn't do it.
For security reasons, and did they get any of this, what specific security issues they had?
So when you're accessing their system, somebody could go in and I'm not an IT person, but you can just by accessing it, didn't feel it was secure, and it's their system, so.
Well, if I were an IT person, after the election, I would have that data locked down so it couldn't be changed, so you could recreate it.
Yeah, that's
If the system's that weak that you can change data after the election, then that's concerning to me.
concerning to me also.
Took Donna in Memphis about 30 minutes to delete those 3 columns and give me the file.
How many municipalities have you FOIA'd for the same information?
Every municipality in Macomb County.
So how many, is Memphis the only one that's
So
giving you that
far,
information?
so far, I have about half,
Denied it.
no, I have about half that have extended, and the rest have denied, but no one's invited me, and I'll show you, I'm an IT expert, I'll show you how to go into that poll book without touching it, restore the file, put it on a thumb drive, and lock it up. That way you're not criminally liable for destroying the evidence. And, I mean, but it's up to you, you know, you can do what you wish, it's that simple. I don't think it would take 15 minutes for us to do it right now if those machines are in this building. Yet everyone's beating around the bush, meaning the people advising you. And what is the penalty for you providing this file?
Well, for one thing, you don't work for the township, and we do have personal information, and we gotta worry about, there are people
I
that,
won't look at the information.
again, we have to be concerned with
Yeah,
it. You know, and it is a concern on the respect and privacy of our other residents.
I can turn around and tell you what buttons to click. We won't even look at the screen. It's that simple, Mike. It's that simple. This is really bad that no one's trying to recover these files that were deleted illegally at the direction of the Bureau of Elections. It's
Okay, thanks.
really bad.
Thanks, Mike, for answering those questions. We
You're welcome.
appreciate it. Frank, you wanna repeat your motion you put on the floor?
Motion to deny the Butz appeal based on the fact that the township does not have the records requested.
Do we have anybody second?
I'm not allowed to, so.
So there's no second, the motion's gonna die.
I have too many questions to be able to vote on that, Frank, to be quite blunt with you.
Is that the motion's still one motion?
The motion
Here?
hasn't been seconded, and I'm just explaining to Frank, I can't second it yet. And the reason is I haven't been given an acceptable answer why those records can't be recreated, other than the state told us not to for security reasons, and I don't understand what the security reason is.
I'm with you on that.
Would you let an IT guy that you didn't know come in and give you
No,
directions?
I wouldn't say I would let Mr. Butz come in and do that, and that even though he's probably a very good
Absolutely.
citizen, trustworthy, I just don't know.
The record doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Okay, well, some people believe that you can recreate it.
A lot of people believe a lot of things that aren't true.
And the state told you not to recreate it, right? It's not,
It was my understanding the state told her they could not be recruited
it could
without
not be
going accessing
recreated.
the system. And she is not authorized to access that system.
Oh, that's a different story than what I heard.
And the Secretary of State is empowered to set rules and regulations for the protection of the electoral process. And these are part of the rules and regulations. They may be challenged, and if they're challenged, it'll be a court of competent jurisdiction, it'll be looked at by a judge, and they will make a ruling on it. But at this point, Susan is required to follow those rules.
Wouldn't the most efficient way, Mr. Butz, to get the data would be at the county level? So you could get the whole county in one spot?
Chain of custody. Your clerk is responsible for those election records. She is to keep a copy here by law. So by her following the state's mandate, she's breaking the law. She's a criminal. I'm sorry to put it that way, but I feel like I'm on another planet right now, where elected officials put their brain in the closet. It's like, you guys are breaking the law.
All right,
I
Mike.
think you're challenging the intelligence of this board, and I have great
I'm
confidence in the
so
people of
sorry,
this
I'm
board.
under a lot of stress.
They may not know as much as you do on this
No, no,
particular topic,
I'm just
but
saying
these
I read
people
the
all
law.
have brains, and I respect their
What I'm
opinions,
saying is, it's like.
as I
the
respect
state-
yours also.
I respect all of you, believe me, that's why I'm just trying, I feel like it's my failure, like I can't communicate the facts. I read the laws, I did the research, I read all of Michigan compiled law, I was so concerned with this. You
You're
know,
very educated on the subject, Mike, and we're not denying it at all.
Yeah,
We
that's
really
all. I
appreciate
don't
it, but
want you
can we
to-
just continue now?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I mean, I feel somewhat similar to what Mike does. I just feel that I don't have all the answers, and I can't make a,
So from a legal perspective, the Secretary of State can tell Susan to destroy records.
Well, they can't tell her to destroy a record, but they can tell her what the process is on keeping it and how to maintain it and where it's gonna go and who can access it.
But right now, we don't have those records. We don't have the records from the November election, we don't have them from the May
You
election.
don't have the electronic poll book. You have a lot of other records. You have voter history, you got the information in the QBF file, you've got their cards, you've got a lot of other information, but you don't have the electronic poll book.
Which is what the FOIA request is on.
so how do we prove to him, since we don't have the electronic poll book, if we have that proof that we don't have the records, and obviously that would suffice his FOIA request.
I don't think he's gonna accept any information you give him as proof that you don't have it. I mean, he believes it can be recreated.
That's not, that's
The law says it can be recreated.
Wouldn't Christine represent Susan and go to the state and say, we have an issue here because you told me to do this and now I could be criminally investigated? Wouldn't that be Christine as our attorney that we all pay for? Wouldn't that be her responsibility to go and represent Susan and ask why she was misguided?
All right, let us continue, please. Thank you. Mike, do you have any questions?
if you would like a copy of the poll book file, I'll give you Memphis. There's nothing in there that's gonna compromise security. You can look at all the values, then you can compare that with what you have in all the reports from the BOE, and you'll see that not all the data is there. Some of the data is only in the electronic poll book. So by destroying them, under the direction of the state, you're destroying election artifacts. I'm just letting you know. That's a fact. I bet my life on it, that's true.
That information is uploaded to the state. It's not destroyed before it gets there.
Do you receive a confirmation that all that data has been uploaded? Because we have proof that that's not the case. They are altering the records. That's why they are being investigated. If you approve, or if you disapprove of his appeal, you are hindering prosecution.
When I upload the history, I do go back in and look at, I randomly pick voters to make sure that, yes, I did upload the history correctly.
Take a look at this woman from Memphis, take a look at her records, and you answer why they don't match. Why the Bureau of Elections data does not match the EPB data. They're keeping multiple databases on everybody.
Okay.
This attorney has already made incorrect statements. The addresses are not
All right.
redactable.
Again, thank you. Let us continue. Frank, you got a motion on the table. Does anybody want a second?
I got a couple more questions for Christine. So, if we decide, if we table this, what happens? If we don't have that option's not available?
If you table it, you are only authorized to table it under an extreme circumstance. And if you table it without an extreme circumstance, then you're in violation.
What would be an extreme circumstance?
In the end, that'll be up to a judge.
That's not very helpful.
Unfortunately, well, it's one of these things that is. And if you table it in violation of that, and the judge determines you're in violation of that, you're in violation of the FOIA statute.
So what options do we have here? Yes or no? Up or down?
That would be my recommendation, yes.
We don't have any additional time. We do table it on the FOIA. Don't we have a certain amount of time for that FOIA request? It's gotta be,
10 days from your last board meeting. 10 business days from your last board meeting.
Otherwise, what happens?
what, from the last board meeting that, I mean, did we get the FOIA request after the last board meeting, I thought?
No, you get your FOIA request just before the last board meeting, and your 10 days starts to tick on the first board meeting after you get the FOIA request, FOIA appeal.
Where we at, 10 days right now? Is that why we're here?
Pretty close. I'll look again on the calendar.
We're close enough.
And there's no extension on a FOIA request?
You can only extend it for an extreme circumstance.
Well, I mean, I think that if we're not, if we're possibly breaking the law, I mean, it does sound to me like that there's a possibility that personal information, if we did have it, and it could be obtained, that the driver's license and date of birth can be redacted and that information can be given out. I mean, no different than any other FOIA request.
There was never any question that if you had the information that the driver's licenses and the dates of birth would be redacted. That is standard procedure with FOIA. And the issue here is that he's looking for an electronic copy.
Which I understand that, but it sounds to me like there's a possibility that that may be able to be retrieved, obviously. I mean, we don't know for sure without maybe talking to our own, I mean, I don't know if it's our own IT people or if it's somebody from the state or something. But I don't know the computers that well enough to know to say that it could or could not be. I mean, I'm kind of in a corner here, you know, against the wall. I wanna make the right decision, that's what I wanna do.
That's why we hired an attorney too to advise us.
Well, I understand. I think that there's some doubt. I think there's doubt here. Because she even mentioned herself, she's not an IT person, doesn't even know for sure, right? If it could be retrieved.
Even if you retrieve the data, the state is indicating that to provide that in electronic format would jeopardize the security of the system. So even if you retrieve the data, it would be our recommendation that you do provide it, but in a PDF format, not in electronic format. Because providing the electronic format, according to the Bureau of Elections and to the state, would jeopardize the security of the system.
If PDF format isn't sufficient, it'll work. It's just, it doesn't matter to you how you get the information.
Electronic. I mean,
We only had
It's
nine.
just a file format.
Yeah.
It's all electronic.
Right, it's all electronic. I have a suggestion. Thank you so much for giving so much thought to this. My suggestion is, you approve the FOIA request pending recovery of the files and consulting with what is and what is not a lawful exemption. I will accept that. I'm on record here, I accept that. Because you're the first board meeting I've been to willing to do the right thing. My heart is very warm right now because you're willing to do the right thing. Approve it, don't deny it, because if you deny it, then I have to go a whole different path that I don't wanna go down. Approve it pending access to the files.
What's the MCL number that you quoted for retention of files to 24 months?
MCL 810 is the clerk must keep a copy of their election records. MCL 811 is the local clerk must keep it for 24 months. And there is information, and I will bring it to you guys. I'll bring you all a USB tomorrow with an APB file, and you will see what's in there. And you will see that not all of that information that is in the public voting record makes it to the state system. Therefore, it's not a complete representation of the voting record of the citizens of this township, or county, or state. You have the support of a lot of people if you just take your time on this, grant the FOIA request conditional upon being able to recover the data. You can have a third party, hire someone, because really it's not an IT person. You know what you need is a good trained person in software, because they give you the whole instructions. Go to this screen, click this button, you know, and recover the file.
Right?
Today's day 9, tomorrow's 10.
Yeah, tomorrow's 10, you don't have to decide.
Well, tomorrow isn't much help either.
Well,
Things
but-
don't go work that fast in the government, well,
I got it.
obviously.
Mike, do you wanna read the law?
No, I'm familiar with it, thank you. I'm becoming familiar with it, I just read it.
Why do you can't?
What do you think about the proposal that Mr. Butz presented? Legal staff,
Motion.
the motion that he suggested.
I think there's a problem with it because he's asking you to approve to overturn Susan's denial. Okay, and grant his FOIA request for an electronic, but not a PDF.
No, PDF.
Copy. No,
PDF.
no,
I will
it's not what
accept the PDF. I will accept the PDF. It's
that's
gotta
new,
have-
that's new.
It has to have all the columns of the Excel file fully expanded so we can see all the information.
With redacted information
With-
missing.
You got it.
Doesn't
I would
print that way.
suggest that you redact it, delete it out of the Excel file first. Make sure that legal redaction is done first. Then you can expand all the columns and you can print it to PDF, and I will accept that. I understand the pressure you guys are under. Even though I believe I have a full right to that, I will accept that PDF, because you're doing the right thing.
PDF would be, obviously,
PDF is just a file format that
It
is,
doesn't exist, so.
Well, we need to kind of make sure that,
well, I mean, the motion would have to depend on getting the information.
No, we don't have PDF.
So you have no record?
And just so you know,
Zero records?
We don't
if
have
you
it.
just maintain the state, do not let the state update those laptops between now and when we try to recover. We'll give you the instructions, Susan, any of you ladies in the clerk's office. You just follow the steps, and you recover the files, and you put them on a stick, or you put them on your computer, put them on everybody's computer, and then you take the columns that should be redacted, the birth date, day, the birth month, and the driver's license, you delete those in Excel. That's what the clerk in Memphis did. It took her 30 minutes to give you that file. She gave me the Excel because she says, there's no reason I can't give you the Excel.
Are we sure that's the only stuff that should be redacted?
I haven't seen a copy of it, so I do not know what should be redacted
I
on.
mean, I don't know if there's other, is there telephone number, address?
509 GG, 168.509
Susan
GG.
knows exactly what needs to be redacted.
You know what?
It's the same information that you would redact from an application, or from a deed, or from a birth certificate, if she were to give it out.
Yeah, it's got it in here, 509GG, I just gotta get
I
to
look
it.
to you because you're the expert.
not knowing IT very well.
If this will help the board, in the original denial, it was a denial in part and only in part. And the only part that was denied was the electronic copy.
Which can be legally redacted.
When Susan thought she could get it back, she offered the PDF version. She offered that. She did. If you look at the response, she offered that. It's not the information that she has any problem giving out, it's just in that format.
I misunderstood, I thought you were giving me the reports from the BOE that don't have all the data. You never articulated it, or I didn't understand it, Susan, that you were offering the full poll book record PDF format. I will accept that. If that'll help you with the state, you know, that's fine, I'll accept that. But these are the things that can be redacted legally from a FOIA request.
In her response, she specifically stated, however, a list of registered voters from the qualified voter file and the paper printout of the electronic poll book generated on election night will be provided. But that is when she thought she had the ability to get the information back.
And I didn't have your FOIA for May 2nd until after the 7 days. I think you thought you dropped it off when you visited that day, but it was mailed to me after the 7 days, so, or emailed. So.
Fair enough, that's fine. Could have been a miss on my part. But we can recover the files, as long as you haven't wiped the machine, as long as you haven't let the state run one of their destruction updates and wipe out the data, we can still get it. So if you approve it, I'll accept the PDF format and all the data exposed. And then I just wanted to save myself some work.
Okay, Mike, thank you, Mike.
Because we have to recover that still,
I wanted
Christine.
to do Excel.
We still have to recover that. Correct. And that's what they're advising us not to do.
The only reason the state's advising us not to do it is because of security reasons.
That's a pretty good reason.
But if it's in a PDF form and the personal information's
Still
been
accessing and
redacted,
recovering it.
it's what?
You're still accessing and recovering it.
Well,
We have to recover it. We don't have it. We have to recover it. I don't even know if we can.
Well, I think that would be one question that we need to have answered, whether it can be recovered or not. It seems, I don't have that definite answer. I'm not an IT person.
The BOE directed us not to. So you're asking us to go against the BOE?
Does she have a communication from the BOE that says that?
From the director?
Do you have a email or a letter from Jonathan Brader saying that they cannot recover the electronic poll book raw data files?
From the director.
You're saying you have one from the director, because we will FOIA that letter.
No, we don't. She's saying, no, we don't.
Okay, she says
She
yes.
just said she's.
She said from the director.
Well,
And you're saying no.
I will FOIA all communications between
You
you
already
and the Bureau
did,
of
you
Elections.
already did, and I've got it sitting on my desk,
Okay.
so.
There we go. So we'll know if you got one or not. That's his point. We need to, they're
Is this
instructing
being
you to
recorded, by the way?
violate the law.
Not by us, but several other people.
Does anybody, Frank has a motion on the table, do we have any other discussion or, questions at all? We still haven't got a second on regarding the motion.
I am not trying to be difficult, I understand the concern.
Let me do this, and I think this might help Mr. Butz, it might help us if he, what do you want?
No,
Go ahead, Go ahead, Susan.
no, I'm done.
I think if we made a motion to provide pending approval from the Bureau of Elections or a written denial from the Bureau of Education, so Mr. Butz could get that we've been instructed not to provide the data, that if we ask them, if we can recreate the data, create a PDF file with all the correct fields redacted, and provide a PDF file to Mr. Butz. I think we need, if we do a specific request, have them deny it. And then if they deny it, then I would say we deny it. But at least Mr. Butz gets something in writing that says we were instructed from the Bureau of Elections not to do it.
Well, we're instructed by them to upload the history and delete it within 7 days, and that's what we did.
But when we asked them if we could recreate it, correct?
Well, everybody's asking them because everybody's gotten this.
And they have
thing.
said no. But can we get a written document from them stating no? Do we have a written
Yeah,
document?
I've got it, the email.
We have several APBs from other parts of the state that we have gotten
We
lift
have
off.
an email that they
We
told
have
us.
instructions not to do this, yes.
Where's it?
And from our attorney, not to do this.
Alright, Mike, you wanna, anybody want to support Frank's motion? Motion on the table. Nobody supports the motion, motion's gonna die. Do we have a second motion? Anyone want to present? No?
More data.
We can't call you, this has gotta do
I'm
this.
just saying, you can call me no matter what happens, because that we need to. This is I'm sharing with you the evidence as part of my criminal complaint against the state. And I share with you the complaint number and the actual criminal complaint background, so. Just for you to contemplate before you just,
Do we have a letter from the Bureau of Elections instructing us not to do this? You-
Oh, by the way, if you wanna see what's on the electronic playbook, this is just one voter. But this is the data that they say it's a security risk. Just so you know, this is what you're.
This is from Memphis?
This is from Memphis. And I have the whole file, all 400 voters. There's nothing on there that's any kind of a violation of confidentiality. So I will distribute it freely with you, and you can make your own examination of the file to determine if you think even without your IT background, if it's a cybersecurity risk, to give that information.
It's not the information, it's a cybersecurity risk, it's the manner in which it was given.
see you about. This is the actual criminal complaint against the Bureau of Elections and Secretary of State for felonious activity and modifying public records.
This is the key sentence.
And just to reiterate what you said earlier, there's no recourse if you get it filed. The state can't do anything against you for doing that. There's other jurisdictions have asked, that's why they've given it.
I think that's the key sentence. And for your edification, here are the two laws. This is the two laws for the criminal complaint. This second one, 750-478A, legal process, intimidation, hindering, or obstruction of public office or employer. So by them putting pressure on the clerks not to comply to the law, that's a crime. So I'm charging them with that crime too. So.
DVD that's electronic, or TV is electronic.
Electronic poll books, that's what I'm asking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hypocritical to what the law says, what this lady's telling me. The law saying that we had to, I mean, you look at this Act 116 of 1954, basically saying that we have that. Charged with some kind of a crime. Please don't feel Christine, did you not think that maybe if it's in a PDF form, things would be a little bit different than electronic poll books? And possibly in a PDF form would be a little bit different as far as. We don't know if that can be, you know, you can put your neck on the line, but I need to at least try to consider what I got, I got to do here. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know if Mike feels comfortable. Do you feel comfortable, Mike?
Feel comfortable with what?
That FOIA request?
Based on what I'm reading here, yes.
Did you read the law? This page here?
I did.
If you want a second Frank's motion. He's got a motion on the table.
What I'm reading is a letter from, the Bureau, is this the Bureau of Elections? And their concern is that if every municipality did this, that there might be inconsistency in how they did it. So coming from a big company, I understand that. You like consistency, you like repeatability, you want quality. So what they're suggesting is that the request go to the Bureau, directed to the county clerk for paper poll book copies, or the BOE for a log file or voter history. So, given the differences of skill set amongst all of the municipalities involved, I would kind of side with the Bureau on that. And I would think that probably gives Mr. Butz a different course of action if they're instructing us to do something. But I would support the clerk in getting this communications and the rationale provided.
The chain of custody is with the clerks, not with the Bureau of Elections. She already talked about them uploading data. Guess what? They're not maintaining all the data. You are supporting obstruction of justice, sir, and racketeering.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, it says the clerk.
And thank you for respecting our request for us to
You have
conduct
no
our meeting.
respect for the law. You have no respect for the law, sir.
It's enough already, please, or we're gonna
Thank
just
you.
have to ask.
Appreciate that.
Mike, do you wanna make a second?
No, I would ask Frank if he would be willing to amend the motion to include the letter from the Bureau of Elections on the rationale and the instructions on what we should provide to our FOIA applicants.
Motion to deny Butz appeal based on the fact that the township doesn't have the records requested as well as the email from the Bureau of Elections that was supplied to the clerk's office.
On the rationale on why not to.
On the rationale of why not to.
I'll second that motion.
Did you not already close this motion, Mr. Supervisor?
He's redacted his prior motion. Let us conduct our meeting here. We're finishing up right now. So we have a motion and a second by Frank. If there's no other discussion, could we get a roll call, please?
I just wanna make sure I got that motion right. Motion tonight, Butz appeal based on the fact that the township doesn't have records requested using,
And the instructions provided
Provided by the Bureau of Elections.
On how to instruct the FOIA applicant to get the appropriate records.
I would recommend including, if there's, you get an email, I would recommend including the date of that email. in there, just so for clarity's sake.
yeah,
Dated May 10th.
Dated May 10th.
okay.
You wanna mention the director's name?
Philbrook,
No.
Tremblay,
Yes.
DeGiorgio,
Yes.
Kraft, yes.
Motion carries. Denial of the FOIA request. Want to appreciate everybody taking the time out, concerned. Sorry it wasn't maybe the most friendly meeting.
Mr. Butz, do you have a copy of that letter?
Thank you all for coming out
This
tonight.
is FOIA back, is FOIA, and I'm